Hello and welcome to Junk Journal Inspirations. My name is Emily. So this video is a long time coming and I want to apologize for how long it has taken me to get around to doing this. I know a few of you I promised it would be like within a week and now it's been probably more than a month. I'm so sorry, but I'm finally doing it, so yay. I'm going to show you how I create a journal out of a vintage or not vintage, whichever, leather wallet. So I had made one a while ago and I didn't do any process videos or anything. I just did the flip through and I had a lot of people ask if I would show how I did it. So that's what I'm doing. I have done some prep work and this is probably going to be a multiple part series, so to speak, but if so, I will still get it all in this week because I'll just film it all at once, if that makes sense, and then I'll split it up into manageable bits that aren't terribly long. Okay, so let me first show you, I'm gonna move some of this stuff out of the way. Let me show you what I've done so far, and then there's a couple things that I wanna share how I did them. So I hope you're all having a good day. It is Sunday here, and tomorrow is Labor Day here in the US. And we are going to my parents' for a cookout. So I'm excited about that. All right, so this is my wallet. I don't know how old it is. I got it at an estate sale, but it's in really good condition and it is leather. And I just really thought it was very pretty. It has this extra little insert in here. And I am going to leave it as an insert, I believe, and I'm going to actually sew the journal into the insert piece. So it'll be here. That way, I thought if you threw this in your purse or whatever, you would have like a little journal that you could pull out and write in or do whatever, you take notes or whatever you want to do, and then you can put it back in there. Originally I was going to use this kind of as the journal cover inside the cover, but I don't know, I think I want to leave it as an insert. We'll see, I might change my mind. But there's lots of pockets in this insert alone, and then you've got, you know, a ton of pockets also just, you know, in the wallet. So we'll be filling this up with some fun goodies at the end, but I'm gonna basically work on this piece today. So I'm gonna set this piece aside, and I think, let me measure this. Obviously, you know, whatever wallet you decide to use might be a different measurement than mine, so you'll just need to, you know, I'll kind of tell you what I did and then you can adjust the measurements. So it's almost 7 inches by 3 5/8, and then this piece is approximately 3 3/8. Sorry, I'm having a hard time. 3 3/8 by 6 almost a half. So what I did for the papers, when I was selecting the papers for the journal, I cut them all at about, they're all 6 1/4, well, unless they weren't big enough to begin with, but the tallest piece is 6 1/4 inches, and then the widest piece is also 6 1/4. But as I moved in, I cut them a bit shorter than 6 1/4, because when you fold all those papers together, they tend to, you know, start like shoving towards, you know, the outside. So the internal pages are just cut a bit shorter. I know some people that cut it with like an X-Acto knife or a rotary cutter or something after they've put them together, but I never have success with that. I'm not sure, I'm just probably not enough hand strength or something. It doesn't work for me. So instead I just adjust as I'm cutting each sheet. And that seems to work better for me. All right, so the first thing I wanted to do is this. I don't like this inside here. It's okay, and I'm not gonna cover the whole thing, but I'm gonna cover these 2 panels, but I wanna leave the pockets This is like a top loading pocket. There's actually a little tear here, but what I'm gonna do will make that not a problem. But I want to keep all my pockets accessible. So what I've done is I have taken some of this beautiful fabric. I got it at Hobby Lobby. It's a Heidi Swap pattern on it, or whatever, however you want to say that. Anyway, and I just love it. And it's got this sort of like steel gray blue in it. And I've decided to kind of use a blue color scheme for this particular journal. So what I've done is I have measured these pieces. I have torn my fabric to mostly fit there, and I'm okay if it's overhanging a little bit. And then I have some of this, I don't know what you call it. It's interfacing, maybe. I got it at a craft thrift store, and you know, it was just kind of in a bag. So I'm not entirely sure what it's called, or you know, how to find it. But anyway, whenever I'm working with thin fabric, which this is thin, you can probably see my fingers through that, I don't like to just glue it straight down, because I use Fabri-Tac for fabric and it just seeps through and looks atrocious. So I, whenever possible, sew my fabric to some form of interfacing or backing or paper even you could use. That way, when I glue, the Fabri-Tac will stay where it's supposed to and not seep through. So I've already done this side, so you can see I've sewn the fabric onto that interfacing. It also gives it some structure, a little better structure, and then I can just glue that right here and it won't be messy or anything like that. So let me show you how I do that. I think I've shown this before, but it never hurts to see it again. And if I have any new viewers, welcome, and maybe you haven't seen this before. So very simple. I'm gonna sew it with my sewing machine. So all I do is use my glue stick and I put down a little bit of it onto that backing. And this is not for a permanent hold. I do not you know, recommend that. It's probably not going to hold forever, but it holds long enough for me to get it to the sewing machine, and then I can, you know, sew it. So just some glue stick, and then I line it up and flip it over and spread it out. And what's nice is doing this, I can get most of the wrinkles out without having to iron, which if you have followed me for any amount of time, you know that I hate to iron. The only things that I do iron are paper, after I've tea dyed it. So yeah, if anyone in my family buys clothes that have to be ironed, they're on their own. And I try not to buy any that have to be ironed. Okay, so I'm gonna let that sit for a minute and I'll show you some other things. Let me grab a wipe here. I think I got some glue on the table and I don't wanna get that all over anything else. All right, so while that's, I mean, sometimes I don't let it sit, but we will this time because I have some other things to show you. All right, so I wanted to show you what I've done so far is collected 12 different papers. This is some wallpaper. Okay, I'll show you this in a second. So we've got wallpaper. I've got some vintage onion skin typewriter paper. This is some manuscript paper is what it's called, but it's like music staff. That's what I always think of it as. Some coffee dyed, tea dyed grungy ledger. This was a bag. No, I'll just show you here. This was a bag like this, right? And I just cut the bottom off and I'll use that for something else. And then I rounded the corners on all of the papers. So you'll end up having two little pockets here. Okay, and then this is a piece of vellum. I just like the way it looked on top of this piece of wallpaper, this pretty bird. And I'll probably do something to cover this up, but I'm not entirely sure yet. This is some chart paper. And then this is a piece of Braille book. And I took one of these. This is like a vintage paper coaster. And they all have different sayings on them, but they come off their backing. Like here's the kind of waxed backing. I'll use that for something, but they come off of there. They just peel right off. I'm not sure if that's from age or what, but what I did is I just folded it in half over this page and I just sewed down the edge, and it might work as a tuck spot. I might need to add some glue, or it might just be pretty. I haven't decided yet. We've got some tea-dyed paper, some vintage graph paper, and then this is from a vintage, it was a small bank book, and it had the most gorgeous pages in it. So, you know, and then you've got the other sides here of all of those. So on the back here, I had a clothing tag. My mom is amazing. Hi, Mom. And she keeps all of her, well, she gives me the clothing that she's not wearing anymore. And then if she, you know, has any cool tags or anything, she gives them to me. So I had this, and it was actually, it was doubled over, and I just cut it in half so I can use it twice. And I just liked it. It could be, you know, just a little tiny fabric flip at the top. I just thought it was pretty, and it had the blue on it. So, all right, now this is cool, and I'm so excited to share this with you. I'm sure that someone else has done something similar, but I never have, so I was excited. So my husband bought a bunch of short sleeve button-up shirts, and they all had these beautiful little tags, and they were on the buttons. They're fabric, okay, and they were just on the buttons, and I made him keep them for me. So what I did is I folded it in half approximately, okay, like so you can't read that word, right? Not that it's a big deal, but I just didn't want that to show. And then I'm gonna do this one on the back, so it'll go this way actually. I used needle and thread, and I sewed a button on here. Okay, so you can kind of see what I did. And I just sewed the button on, and then you can unbutton it if you want. And I just thought it was kind of a cool way to make a tab. So I was super excited. I'm gonna put something over top of that. You don't have to, I just don't like the way that looks necessarily. So let's go ahead and do one. Now, again, if you've watched me for any amount of time, you know that I struggle with fiddly things, but I did it before I started filming because I didn't want to get into that situation, and it went pretty well. So we'll see. We'll see. It might bite me in the behind, but I'm gonna give it a go. All right. I don't have a whole lot of thread here, but I think it's enough. We'll see. All right, I didn't glue anything or, you know, anything like that. I just sort of figured out where I wanted the tab, right? Do I want the button on the outside? Yes, I do. I want the button on the outside. Okay, so I folded it in half the best I could, right? And I'll just see if I sort of make sure that I've got them hanging off the same amount here. Okay, that's pretty good. This is just kind of seat of your pants. All right, now I'm gonna figure out where approximately my button needs to be. So there, and then I'm going to tuck it under, and then I'll hold it there. See, I told you, it's just sort of fiddly. And I'll make sure that that's gonna work. And I think that's gonna be fine. So I'm gonna move that flap out of my way, and I'm just gonna sew through this part here and onto, or through the button, right? Is that the words I'm trying to find? So, and since I decided I'm gonna cover my stitches anyway, I'm just gonna leave the knot. I hid the knot on the other one, but okay, come on. See, this is when things just don't work out when you're filming. All right, let me see if I can figure out where to start here. There we go. That's a trick. If you can't figure out where to start your needle, just push it through the front side, and then you should be able to see a little hole, so you can figure out where to go. So yeah, I'm just sewing this on, and I'm going to go through each hole a couple times. Just doing, you know, like crisscrossing. Like so. All right, and then when you're done, then we can just tie it off on the back. So we'll make sure that it works. Again, just be careful if you're undoing this and redoing it. It is sewn to paper, so you know it's not the best. So just, you know, just be careful. So I'm just gonna take my needle and go under whatever I can catch here. I didn't have quite enough thread on my needle, but it should be fine. So I'm just gonna go over here under this stitch. So let me show you. I'm underneath that stitch, and then I'm gonna pull this through, but not all the way, and I'm hoping, oh, I'll just have to, yeah, that's not gonna work. All right, no big deal. I'm just gonna cut this off, and I'm gonna pull one end. Let me find something. I'm gonna pull one end through, and then I'll just tie it by hand, if that makes any sense. All right, so I'm sure there's a better way to do this, but this is just how I'm getting it done today. All right, maybe. There we go. All right, and we're gonna put something on top of this, so I'm not too worried about it. It'll get glued down, but let me just try one more time, see if I can tie one more knot. Okay, there, good enough. All right, we'll cut off some of it, and we'll figure out what we're gonna cover that with later. All right, and that's that. So I'm gonna do one more in like the center, but I won't make you watch that because I think it's pretty self-explanatory once you get kind of the idea. All right, now I'm going to see how cute that looks. I love that. Little fabric tabs. Okay, so I'm going to take this to the sewing machine, and I'm going to sew around it like I did with the other one, and I'll be right back. All right, so here we have the second piece all sewn. Just did a zigzag stitch, so that will go right there, and this one will go here. Okay, so we'll go ahead and glue that down, and I'm going to use Fabri-Tac. And I'm still going to be careful not to overdo it with the Fabri-Tac, but it will, I haven't had any problems yet with it leaking through both the interfacing and the fabric. So fingers crossed that that continues to be the case. All right. So these are so fun to make because you can keep them as simple as you want, or you can, you know, make them more elaborate. I think it's just fun to take something and turn it into something else. That's sort of, you know, what I like to do. So, all right, so just want to make sure that don't glue the pocket shut. And I think we're good. Yep, you can still get into our pocket. And that should hold. All right, let's do this side. Yeah, whenever I find this interfacing stuff, or I don't know, I'm sure I'm calling it the wrong thing. Someone can correct me, please. But whenever I find it at the thrift store, or we have a couple crafty thrift stores here in Cincinnati, which is awesome. My friend Jenny introduced me to both of them, and they're awesome because it's just all art supplies. And, you know, it's just all crafty art supply stuff that people donate, and then the money goes to different art schools and the like here in our area. All right, let me just make sure. There we go. All right, make sure that's not interfering with our pockets. Didn't check this one, but I think it's okay. All right. And then that tear, I'm just gonna hold my fingers there where that tear was. I'm just gonna hold that for a second and make sure that it is kind of holding that together so we don't have to worry about that anymore. There, I just think that looks a bit better covered up. And you could cover it with paper, you know, whatever you enjoy. Oh, I wanted to show you. I didn't show you the fabric. So this is the fabric. It is so cool. It has so many fun. It just reminds me of like Tim Holtz stuff. But yeah, so that is, you can look for that at Hobby Lobby. If they have more the next time I'm there, I should get more because I really like it. But I do have quite a bit. I don't use very much of it at a time. So, all right, so that takes care of that. And then our pages will go in here like so. All right, so we might as well go ahead and, oh, nope, not yet. I'm gonna cut away for a minute. I'm gonna sew this other tab on, and then I'll come back and I'll show you how I sew it in. It's basically just the 3-hole pamphlet stitch, but I had some questions about that, so I will be back in just a couple minutes. All right, so I got that third tab sewn on there, and I chose to sew it to the Braille paper because it's a bit sturdier. And I have everything lined up, right side up, all that jazz. So I am going to make sure everything is where I want it. Let me, this was sort of folded wrong, this piece here, so it doesn't quite fold like on the halfway mark like you would have wanted to. So I just need to make sure that it's going to be okay. I have a better idea. I'm going to do this separately. I was going to try and do it all at one time, but I think I'm going to end up frustrated and it's not going to work right. So come here. All right, so we'll make sure that this is all lined up. And, okay, I think that's good. So now I'm going to use my Tim Holtz centering ruler, or however you want to call it. I think it's just called a design ruler. And of course this is in my way. Okay. And I'm just gonna find the center, and I said 6 1/4, right? So it should be 3 1/8 approximately on each side of the center. And I'll take my pencil and I'm just going to mark the center, and then I think we'll do 2 inches on either side. That should grab everything. All right, so there you can see my 3 marks, and that's where I'm going to poke my holes. So let's see if we can do this. Nope, I think I'm gonna have to do it separate, which is just a bit frustrating because it's gonna just be a bit more difficult. I'd rather be able to do it all at once. Sorry. I'm thinking, so apparently I can't communicate and think at the same time. Okay, nope, I'm not gonna do that. We're gonna do this separate. So I'm gonna use a white I want to find the center of my actual wallet piece, and I believe it is right there. Really? Wow. Yeah, okay. So I'm just gonna make a tiny mark. Hopefully. There we go. Okay. Now I can line up against that mark and find where I want to poke everything. Okay, now I'll mark at the center and at 2 inches. Hopefully. Hold on, which was the center? Okay, the bottom one is the center. All right, now we can use my awl. And I'm just setting it on that dot and then closing it as much as I can and pushing it through. And I'm going to do the same thing here. I'm just putting my awl right on that dot, poke through, and then we can do the other 2 as well. There we go. Okay, now we're ready to sew it together. I've got some brown waxed thread here, and I'm just gonna get a bunch like so. And I have a dull tip needle because that works better for me. So we'll start on the inside, and you can use your binder clip to hold the end of your thread so you don't lose it. And then we'll go in through the leather. It's a little tough just because it's leather. At least I find it to be a bit rough to do, but it's not horrible. We'll go the liner, you know, is kind of getting in my way, but that's okay. All right. It's stuck on my watch. All right. Okay, so we're gonna pull back through, and I go to the bottom hole next. You can go to the top hole next if you'd rather. And then I can pull this a bit tighter. And then through that bottom hole. And then we'll go through the top hole. And then we're going to go back through this hole, and you just want to be careful that you don't split your thread, because if you do, you won't be able to tighten everything up at the end. So I kind of hold it, and then, you know, just make sure that I'm not breaking that. And then I'll put it on the other side of, I'll show you in a second. Let me get this through here. Okay. All right. So we have, I'm going to take off my binder clips now. Okay. And I have one end on either side of this center thread. Okay. And I'm going to very gently start to just tighten this up and make sure, you know, that it's all snug. Don't pull too hard or you might tear your paper, especially if you're using old paper, which I have some old paper in here, so just be careful. All right, so I just tied a square knot, and I'm going to trim most of this off, but I'm gonna leave some in case I want to add a charm or something. And hopefully, fingers crossed, yay, it did, it worked. Everything is lined up and good, so yay. It was a little bit trickier than the last one I did. If you don't have an insert and you're just sewing it directly to the wallet, same things apply, so it's not really any different. I just happen to have this extra insert. So yeah, everything looks good. I am happy with that. And we can move on to decorating. Basically, I think what I'm going to do first though, I have this beautiful lace. I love it. And I'm going to use it on the outside here. I think I'm going to go this way with it. And I'm just going to wrap it around, and it'll hide the stitching, basically is what I'm doing. And I'll do the same thing on the outside, most likely, but I'm not going to do that yet because I'm not quite sure how I want to decorate this. But we might as well go ahead and put this piece on. So I think Fabri-Tac is probably what we need to use here. So I'm gonna just add some here. So that is our little journal for inside our wallet, and I think it is just adorable. I might need to add some more glue here and here, but I'm gonna wait until it dries a little bit and then see what I need to do. All right, so that is gonna be the end of this video, and I will be back in a day or so with the next part, which I think we will start decorating. I have some ideas for the pages and stuff like that. We can decorate here a little bit and here, just give it a little bit more character. And yeah, so that'll be coming up in the next couple of days. All right, guys, I hope you have a fabulous day, and I hope that if you're celebrating Labor Day, you're having a great time with family and friends. Be safe and have a lot of fun, guys. All right, I will talk to you soon. Take care and stay safe. And yeah, bye.